Watch this.
Summer break may just be starting for students, but this also means the beginning of back to school for districts. Teacher contracts coming to an end. Will there be enough re-signed to fill Idaho's classrooms in the fall? They came from all over the world looking for a new life. They ended up in Idaho, and today they became U.S. citizens. You know, viewer questions come in from all kinds of directions. Today, they're coming in from on high and way down low. And we have your answers, some of them. You know, if all goes according to the assumed timeline, the U.S. Supreme Court should release a decision that is expected to overturn Roe v. Wade later this month. About a month before Idaho's own Supreme Court will hear arguments about our own anti-abortion law. Senate Bill 1309, the new law reluctantly signed by Governor Brad Little back in March, would allow immediate relatives, immediate family members to sue the doctor for performing an abortion. If it was set to go into effect last month, but a lawsuit was filed to stop it and get the Supreme Court to call it unconstitutional. Well, yesterday, the state Supreme Court announced they're setting oral arguments to begin August 3rd, waiting until the highest court in the land makes their decision on Roe v. Wade. So should they overturn that 1973 decision, Idaho's own trigger law will outlaw abortions anyway 30 days later. And so you may be asking, won't that nullify this case before Idaho's Supreme Court? Not necessarily. This lawsuit is centered on the civil lawsuit, or the civil aspect, I should say, of the abortion ban, which would hold doctors liable for up to $20,000 from those family members. So stay tuned for that. Factions would be a vanilla, kind of watered-down way to describe the divisions of our country right now. Between where you stand on the pandemic, social justice movements, who should be sitting in the Oval Office, the last few years has been about as divisive as it can be this side of the Civil War. Despite all of that, we're reminded there are people living around the world that would love to call themselves an American more than anything else. Not to replace anyone, but to be part of the great experiment. Today at the federal courthouse in Boise, a group of 79 people made the jump from visitor to citizen during a special ceremony. Joe Paris and photojournalist Kevin Esslinger spent the last few moments with them, of being outsiders to the first few moments of realizing their American dream.
For the land of the free.
A familiar anthem now means something new to this group.
You're about to officially become part of the fabric of our community and our democracy.
That I will support and defend.
79 people who now call Idaho home are officially citizens of the United States.
I do.
These new Americans come from across the globe: Japan, Ukraine, France, Italy, all waiting to clear the final step, hearing their name and country of origin.
Nadia Nizami, Afghanistan.
It's easy to spot beaming smiles and tears of joy in the crowd full of family, friends, and supporters. The realization of the American dream.
It feels really, really good. I feel proud and happy. I cannot explain my feelings right now.
Nadia sits with her sister, Mira, who is just steps behind her on the final path to citizenship.
It means a lot, honestly, from where I came and who I am today, and who I've become through all of the 6 years living in the United States. I'm really proud and happy.
I'm quite sure this is a day you'll remember forever and that you will remember fondly.
Today, I finally officially became an American citizen.
Garlene Davis left her home in Haiti about 10 years ago. Her journey as an American begins on an exciting note.
It feels like a sense of belonging and to a great nation, of course, but also a sense of pride that I'm part of this humongous country that's so relevant, and I can make a little mark on it, and I feel very proud.
Davis says, of course, becoming a citizen is exciting. She will wake up tomorrow for the first time as an American.
I know, right? I don't know how I'm gonna feel, but I know I'm gonna feel different. I don't know yet, but I know it'll be good. It'll be good, yes.
As the group of new Americans joins the country, the circumstances remind us what this United States of America is built on.
And all of us came here with the same dream the dream of a better life for ourselves and our families.
That is one ray of sunshine that I can send out to people out there, that if you have a dream, you just pursue it. If that dream is to be American, you can do it, because everyone can.
I know a lot of us take that kind of stuff for granted, being an American citizen, but for all those people there, this was a years-long process to get to this point. What was it like to be there?
It's not to get overly cliche, but you stand there and you think about, kind of the situation that I personally grew up in, and the people my friends that I grew up around, and kind of the things we went through. And then you talk to some of the people that are there today, and you hear the countries that they're coming from, and you know the stories that they have. And it's just this thing where you're watching this group of people that is so excited to join our country. And I think about all the network shows I've watched over the last few days. This is what's wrong with America. This is how America's off the rails. And you watch this group of people that want to be a part of our country, and it makes you wonder, well, what's so good about our country? Why do they want to be a part of this? And it's a real perspective reset for me as I'm standing there today and watching this. Of course, we have a great country, but you meet these people that want to be Americans, as you mentioned, not to replace anyone, but they want to join this. They want to join the great melting pot, the big experiment. And to me, it's uplifting to see the ceremony and the smiles and the people that say, I can't wait to wake up as an American tomorrow.
All right, well, welcome aboard, all 79 of you. It's a pleasure to
see you at jury duty.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
Good point. All right, thanks, Joe. This is a time of year when kids are excited about the summer ahead. Families planning summer vacations, maybe some summer camps. Kids are gearing up for a summer job, maybe. Unfortunately, this is also the time of year for school districts. Well, it's not really one to get too excited about, because this is when their work behind the scenes begins. Teacher contracts usually end right along with the school year, and now more than ever, Idaho school districts are struggling to fill positions ahead of next fall. 78 districts combined are unable to fill nearly 900 positions. Why? Well, Kati Stepovic asked that question and what the answer might mean for students.
For the very first time, the Idaho State Board of Education sent out a survey to Idaho's 115 school districts in recent weeks to get a sense of just how short-staffed they are.
Right now, we have 895 current openings across the state in our school district. And I haven't pulled in information from our charter schools yet, but what I'm hearing so far is that it's that they're experiencing similar difficulties.
Tracy Bent, Chief Planning and Policy Officer for the State Board of Ed, says they haven't had to conduct a survey like this before, but they did so after hearing that districts were struggling to staff up.
Anecdotally, I would say that what I'm hearing is that this is a much higher rate of open positions than they've seen in the past. Even it's a higher rate than they saw last year or the year before. Pool of applicants, in many cases, they receive none, or they're not people that are fully certified on a standard certificate.
And the reason? Mike Journey with the Idaho Education Association says is multifaceted.
Given the kinds of salaries that we see other countries, even other states nearby, paying teachers, and after the long road of COVID-19, and then also the ongoing political situation that swirls around public education in this country, it's a very taxing thing for educators.
Journey says right now more than half of Idaho educators are considering leaving the industry, and that's reflected by the number of open teacher positions.
But we have a long way to go, especially here in Idaho, given the current situation. And so it's understandable, but it's also kind of scary. The best indicator of strong educational outcomes for a particular student is having a veteran, well-respected teacher in the classroom.
But unfortunately, Bent says beggars can't be choosers, and those veteran educators are becoming not so common.
We have an option for school districts to do an alternate route for certification. These are most commonly used for people that might have content knowledge but haven't gone through the formal training on how to teach. And so they can have a 3-year certificate to get the interim certificate where they can go into the classroom while they receive mentoring and additional training.
She says a large majority of new hires are coming from those alternative routes, which means in 3 years, they will likely move on.
The other risk is putting people in the classroom because we need bodies that aren't prepared to teach our students. That's what we have to balance when we're looking at solutions is, what's that right solution for still maintaining the quality teachers that we have and trying to entice, people that can be quality teachers.
That is the struggle, and so far only 78 of the 115 districts in Idaho have responded to the survey, so the number of the open teaching positions likely is a lot higher. Brian?
Yeah, well, the thing I'm thinking about here, watching that, is experience goes a long way, which is something they're missing out on. But Idaho is also one of the lowest paying states when it comes to teachers and stuff. So is there a section, is there a grade level where they're really hurting at this point?
Well, it is kind of across the board, but I will say most of the openings are the secondary level, so junior high and high school, at that time where a lot of kids are trying to decide what they want to do with their lives and careers ahead. There are also a lot of math and science positions to fill that are extremely hard to do. Mike
Journey mentioned the political climate around teaching right now with all of this, everybody trying to tell teachers what they can and can't do inside the classroom and stuff. I can only imagine. All right, thank you very much, Katya. Spend any time outside today? You may have noticed this. But what is it? A lot of you asked, so we asked the chief. Rick Lantz has your answer. If you haven't already, this is the time to join the 208 conversation. You can send us a text anytime with your questions, your comments, your suggestions, and yes, we even read your complaints about the show. 208-321-5614, that's the number. Just remember to keep them short, because we like to share some of them at the end of the show, and make sure you include your name and the hashtag the 208. You know, we've been waiting on that next storm system that Rick's been talking about to come into southern Idaho. And while we've been doing that, we've been watching some of those clouds come in and out as well. A lot of you have, as we can see. It is evidenced by the pictures and the videos you sent in today. Like this one here. You can see this video. Anyone else in Boise catch this amazing sun halo? Wow. Doug also texted us this picture and asked what this is, saying he's never seen anything like it before in his life. Del Thompson texted a few minutes later, asking the same thing, saying the same thing pretty much. Never seen something like this. There was another picture that was sent in from Idaho Weather Watcher's Facebook page, asking if this is quote unquote a sundog, or the definition of a sundog. And I'm going to guess probably, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ask Idaho's chief meteorologist, Rick Lantz, to explain what those things are that ring around the sun. What do we call that, Rick?
Well, the official term, that's a sun halo. So you had that right to begin with, Brian. And you know, what causes these is the fact that we're starting to see some of the high clouds move in from the storms that we have out to the west. And a lot of times you get questions just like this, especially on Idaho Weather Watchers. This looks really unusual to me, but they're really not. They're formed because of high clouds that are out ahead of the storm that's starting to move in, some that are up above actually 20,000 feet. And because of that, they're ice crystals. So you're looking at a refraction there because, of course, the ice crystals itself aren't totally flat. And the sun itself, as you look at it there, you can see the circular motion. So it causes this circle that's around there, which you're actually looking at as a refraction of that from some of the high clouds between the sun and the surface that we're looking at. And let me just mention something else about this. Hopefully, when you see these, don't be staring at them, okay? Because if you take a picture with that sort of thing, hopefully you have a filter on your lens or some way to protect your eyes on this sort of thing. Because you're looking at ice particles and the refraction from that, it's going to be even more powerful on the eyes. So you have to really protect yourself, watch those things, that they don't just, that you don't stare at those things. Sometimes people will just take pictures of that and then, maybe able to edit it or something like that. So be very careful. Just know that there's a storm in the area. Happens to the moon at night sometimes too.
Yeah,
so we'll be seeing pictures of those as well.
Talking about staring at it, Rick, I was noticing even some of the pictures we were looking at, we couldn't look at it very long, even in picture form, because of how bright it is.
It is, and you can also see some other bright spots on there. And a lot of times on some of those pictures, they come out full like this. And other times you'll see even reflections just from your camera lens. That kind of adds to the sort of things too. So that shows just how bright they are. And that just means that a storm is heading into our area, which we're looking at toward this weekend. So we're going to be looking at some rain and thunderstorms possible on Saturday, but I think the best chance is going to be on Sunday. And that's when those clouds come in lower and they rain on us. So we've got these 3 days just almost identical to what we had last weekend, but we're not going to have as much moisture. And then, of course, it warms up after that.
For years, it's been a mystery as to how hundreds of shoes found their way onto fence posts outside of Boise. Now, there's a new question. Where did they go? Before we get to that, though, let's make sure we get some time to connect. Text us whatever's on your mind, your comments, your questions. We just want to hear from you. Here's the number, 208-321-5614. Don't forget your name and the hashtag the 208. You know, it's been a few years, but there's a stretch of road in Ada County that caught our attention back in 2019. Actually, it was brought to our attention by a few viewers, which is kind of why we're talking about it again today. We'll get to that in a moment. First, if you've ever driven southwest of Boise between Kuna and the interstate, there's kind of a scenic route, which is, well, scenic for reasons unknown. Along Cunamore Road, there seems to be a shoe situation that, along with Charlie, the pay at Lake Monster and McCall, just can't be explained. Southeast of Boise, surrounded by high desert sagebrush, there's not a whole lot happening out here.
The range is now hot. The range is now hot.
Other than what you hear
Commence firing.
coming from the Blacks Creek shooting range. But there is one other thing happening out here that even some of these shooters can't quite set their sights on.
I don't know. It's one of those unsolved mysteries.
Most of them have seen it.
Yes, people have asked me, what's the story with all the shoes?
But no one can explain it.
UFO? Who knows?
On the ridge above the range, there's a different sort of shooting, so to speak.
I don't know.
Along a straight stretch of Cunamore Road, you start to see them. A high heel here, a bottoms-up boot there. But before you know it, you're rolling right alongside thousands of feet of what used to be on somebody's feet, now affixed to the top of fence posts. And there's all kinds in this collection.
There are galoshes. I saw some tennis shoes, some work boots.
From club shoes to kid shoes.
Kids' shoes, small shoes, big shoes, boots. Yeah.
And those familiar with the flock of footwear say it formed from just a few.
But there's more. There seems to be more and more every time I come out. And where they come from, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Curtis isn't the only one kind of curious.
The land out here is a mix of private and public property. Fish and Game, which operates some of it, says they're aware of the shoes, they just don't know why they're here. And the gentleman that owns this piece of land says it's been in his family for generations. And the shoes have been showing up for decades. He's never known why.
Neither do the nearby neighbors. Brett Turning has been out here almost a decade. No idea.
High school prank.
And it seems nobody could tell us why the sneakers and slip-ons and the rest of the abandoned souls are staked south of Boise.
Could be, you know, I mean, are they?
The most likely explanation?
People do crazy stuff.
And apparently for no apparent reason.
Yes, for no apparent reason.
I don't know what it means. I have no idea what it means.
Brian Holmes.
It's what gives the country character, I guess.
Idaho's News Channel 7.
So as you heard those who live nearby explain, those shoes have been showing up and have been there for years. As recently as last year, we've had people text us and ask us about them, wondering if we knew why we were there. But then last week, we got this text from Gail, who said, "Where did all those shoes go that were on the fence on Cunamore Road between the two shooting ranges?" Sure enough, this is what that section of Cunamore Road looked like this morning. Like Gail said, most, if not all of the shoes were gone. Well, not all of the shoes. A few others have asked the same question about the shoes being removed. And the answer to that question, where did they go, is much like the answer to the question of how did they get there in the first place? I mean, shoes just don't get up and walk away on their own, right? So what happened? Well, much like in 2019, I tried to reach out to the couple of landowners out there. Haven't heard back yet. The Bureau of Land Management manages some of the land in that area. They told us they're not aware of anyone taking them down. They didn't do it. But like we were told before, sometimes some of those private landowners just up and take the shoes down or have them removed at random times. However, our photographer, Kevin Esslinger, said there are a few of what he called fresh shoes out there, affixed to a few of the poles, and like they were put out there recently, which means those shoes should start reappearing randomly, I guess, all over again. And we'll never know the reasons why, which is why I guess it's the definition of a mystery.
All right, really quickly, the 208 is off tomorrow, but we will be back on Monday. So don't worry, enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Let's get to your text messages you sent in for today. I'm born and raised here, only 53 years old, but funding for education has always been every governor's priority and has never been prioritized. Never, says Lisa. A lot of comments on the teacher situation with contracts ending and trying to figure out if we're going to have enough to fill classrooms in the fall. West Ada just appointed a yellow shirt member to their board. That doesn't reflect that they back their teachers, and that's part of the current issue, says Rob in Boise. My friends and I are all teachers over the last 40 years. We knew this day of extreme teacher shortages was coming. How could our legislators be so out of touch with reality, asks Julie in Boise. Just a priority every year, right? While I'm thrilled to see these people become American citizens. Welcome, says Aaron. That's the 79 people who were sworn in as American citizens today at the federal courthouse. Great story for dozens of new Americans now living in Boise and in Idaho. Thank you for revealing actual patriotism in these newest citizens. They enrich our community. Patriotism is not flying tattered banners from a jacked up truck. It's not Proud Boys. It is this. Tammy says, thank you. Unless you're a Native American, we are descended from immigrants, all of us. Thank you for showing that for a lot of people. The U.S. is still the dream, says Karen in Garden City. And those people are, as we heard one of them say, going to wake up tomorrow, probably won't feel any different, but most likely will, because now they're American citizens. And again, we welcome you to Idaho, to America, to the 208. We'll see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.